system. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. You know, we're way ahead of the guy.
You just watched footage of a private phone call between independent candidate RFK Jr. and former President Donald Trump. They were apparently having a phone conversation, and it was leaked. It was released recently by RFK Jr.'s son, Bobby Kennedy III.
Oops.
Yeah, so there's been some backlash toward RFK Jr. as a result. This video comes out a day after it was reported that Donald Trump and RFK Jr. met to discuss Kennedy playing a future role in Trump's administration. So that's led to backlash as well. According to that report by Mediaite, Trump was evaluating Bobby's potential. Now, according to a Kennedy insider, the meeting also touched on unity as a nation and security issues in the wake of Trump's assassination attempt last weekend on Saturday. Now, it's unclear exactly what these security issue conversations were really about, but Kennedy has been urging the White House to allow him to have Secret Service protection, considering the security threats and the fact that he is in fact running for president as an independent. Let's watch.
Everybody, you might have heard that yet another intruder broke into my house this week and then returned to my house again shortly after the police released him. Last month, an armed gunman using falsified US Marshal badges and phony federal ID and carrying an arsenal in his backpack tried to approach me at a speech in Los Angeles, a short distance from where my dad was assassinated. I don't want to make too big a deal of it, except that it highlights the need for Secret Service protection. However, President Biden has made the historic decision to deny me a Secret Service detail. I'm the only one in history whose request has ever been denied. I don't spend time worrying about my personal safety, but I do worry about the safety of my family and their sense of well-being, and about the safety of bystanders if there happens to be a more serious incident.
Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team. So luckily, the Biden administration approved his request for Secret Service protection this week. I'm glad that he did that. But I do want to just quickly go back to the discussion with Donald Trump, because I do think that's the more interesting element of the story. So the Kennedy campaign press secretary, Stephanie Spear, confirmed the meeting and explained in a statement, yes, Mr. Kennedy met with President Trump today to discuss national unity, and he hopes to meet with leaders of the Democratic Party as well. And no, he is not dropping out of the race. He is the only pro-environment, pro-choice, anti-war candidate who beats Donald Trump in head-to-head polls. And during that phone call, apparently a potential cabinet position wasn't all that they talked about. They also discussed their stances on vaccines.
I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system. And, and it's the doctors you find. Remember I said I want to do small doses. Small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that is like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this, and do you ever see the size of it, right? It's just massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago.
So according to Bobby Kennedy III, that part of the conversation is the reason why he released the video and put it out there, okay? So he wrote that writing in the since deleted post on X, I'm a firm believer that these sorts of conversations should be had in public. Here's Trump giving his real opinion to my dad about vaccinating kids. This was the day after the assassination attempt. If I violated some kind of law in posting this, my only wish is to have Dr. Anthony Fauci as my cellmate. This is not a cheap fake or somebody doing a Trump voice. This is the real deal. He could have picked a unity ticket. Instead, he picked JD, fire all the unvaccinated nurses, Vance. Two parties, indivisible, under Pfizer with liberty and justice for some. And by the way, we had to fact check the JD Vance allegation because I didn't know if it's true. And it is actually true, to JD Vance's credit. He said, American hospitals are overwhelmed. It's time to take this seriously. As a start, let's fire thousands of nurses. Well, I don't know if I agree with this. Let's fire thousands of nurses who refuse to get the vaccine. That will help. I did not agree with firing nurses. These are frontline workers. I get the argument against nurses who didn't want to get vaccinated, but these are people that we desperately needed to provide care for people who were sick. So firing them was a bad idea. But the point is, JD Vance was in favor of the vaccine and vaccine mandates.
Yeah, so they had the conversation before Donald Trump picked JD Vance. And it was obvious that Trump was considering RFK Jr. for vice president, which, by the way, would have been a bit savvy because RFK Jr. is at 8%. He was as high as 20, but 8 is still a giant number, right? And that might have cemented the election for him. So I'm not sure that he did make the right decision, just in terms of politics and strategy. And 8% is also the reason why you should get Secret Service protection. That's not a small number. That's a significant enough number. And why would you even deny that? It makes you look petty and ridiculous. And what happens if something happened to him? Then Biden would look terrible. I mean, the Democrats also at one point proposed, a small number of them, proposed a bill to take away Secret Service protection from Trump. This was a while back. What a disastrous idea that was, right? So look, at some point, if these two team up, they're gonna have a much better chance of winning. So this is a real note of concern. Bobby Kennedy III should have never released this tape. It was strategically very poorly done. And RFK Jr. has apologized profusely for it. But this is something that's in the works and something you should know about because it could affect the election a ton.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.